Hello, in this video we will complete our lesson 4-8, which is complex numbers. Okay, and actually we'll talk about multiplying complex numbers. What is each product of these complex numbers? 3i times 3i times negative 5 plus 2i. We just use distributive property to get 3i times 5 plus 3i times 2i. Now 3i times 5 is negative 15i plus 3 times 2 is 6 and I times I is I squared. But we know that the square root of negative 1 is I. So the square root of negative 1 squared is I squared. So I squared equals to negative 1, right? So this is negative 1. So here we have negative 15i plus 6 times negative 1. So the final answer is negative 6 minus negative 6 minus 15i. Okay? Okay. 4 plus 3i. 4 plus 3i times negative 1 negative 2i. Okay. Now, when you multiply two terms like this, we're just using what distributive property. We just use distributive property in each term. Okay. Now this by this and this term by each term inside the second brackets. Okay. Now 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 4 times negative 2i is negative 8i. Okay. Now 3i times negative 1 is negative 3i and 3i times negative 2i is negative 6i squared. Okay? Now negative 4, negative 8i, negative 3i is negative 11i minus 6 times I squared is negative 1. So negative 4 minus negative 11i, negative 6 times negative 1 is positive 1. So we have negative 4 plus 6 is 2 minus 11i. Okay? Okay, now 6 plus I times what? Times negative 6 minus I. Right? Yeah. Okay, same story. Negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. Negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. Now, negative 6 times negative I is positive 6i, right? And I times negative 6 is negative 6i and I times I is negative I squared. Okay? Now, Positive 6i with negative 6i will be cancelled. So 36 as is plus negative. This is, we know that this is negative 1, right? Minus of negative 1 is positive 1. Okay, so 36 plus 1 is 37. So the product of these two numbers, of these two complex numbers, is 36. Okay? Okay, now we will talk about complex conjugate. And what's the conjugate of complex numbers? Conjugate of any complex number, if you have any complex number like a plus bi, then the conjugate of this number is a minus bi. Okay, this is the conjugate number. This is the conjugate. Okay, this is the conjugate of this number. Okay. So a plus bi and a minus bi are conjugates for each other. Okay, what do you mean by conjugate number? Is the product of complex conjugates is a real number. Okay, let's take an example. What's the conjugate of 3 plus 4i? Actually, the conjugate of this number is 3 minus 4i. This is the conjugate of this number. Okay? That's enough in this video. Thank you so much.